Just like, I cannot believe that I actually rode a horse here on this granite with that sheer drop off and this really just granite. There's no really trail. And that. So we just came up this granite here. All granite. And we're getting back onto the trail. Still can't believe I did this on a horse. What was I thinking?
The Pacific Crest Trail, commonly known as the PCT, is a 2,650-mile path that stretches along the highest portions of the Sierra Nevada and the Cascade Mountain ranges from Mexico all the way to Canada. Although this trail is considered both a hiking and an equestrian trail, traversing this path on horseback is much more challenging. As some envision the PCT as a calm, meandering footpath through meadows and forests, in actuality, it's a path that's full of boulders, cliffs, loose shale, and snow. Hikers can easily scramble over and under these obstacles. However, equestrians have a much harder time, as they will need to saw trees, ford streams without the benefit of getting to walk over logs, and sometimes will need to find an alternate route altogether that's completely off at the PCT to get around impassable terrain. The winter storms of 2017 dumped as much as 20 feet of snow in the Sierra and the Cascades. Because of the immense snowpack, traversing the PCT became more of a mountaineering adventure as hikers used crampons and ice axes to get across the high mountain passes in the middle of summer. When the snow started to melt, streams and rivers became death traps. If not forded with great caution, hikers would have to walk an extra mile or even more to find safe crossings. PCT hikers died the summer of 2017 in the Sierra, and some had near-death experiences. With anxious anticipation, 3 women were watching all of this unfold as they were preparing for their PCT adventure on horseback, an adventure that had been in the planning for 2 years.
So, here we are, August 18th, 2016, doing our practice ride on the PCT from Boreal Ridge north.
They set out on the trail August the 7th with a plan to ride over 200 miles from Tuolumne Meadows to Donner Summit with their first resupply at Kennedy Meadows North. Halfway to Kennedy Meadows with equipment failures, downed trees, and rough terrain, they knew that their first resupply point would actually be the end of their ride this season.
I'm Michelle Pearson. I live in Poole. I'm 51, and I decided to take this journey with my friends.
I'm Julie Cody. I'm pushing 70 in a couple of months, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this trip. I also live in Poole.
I'm Cathy Murchison. I'm 55. I live in Greenwood, just beyond cool. And I just like adventure, so this just seemed like the perfect thing for us to do together.
I expected to retire in Monterey and scuba dive the rest of my life, but I ended up with horses. I didn't grow up on horses, so I really don't have much muscle memory. So it's not like I rode when I was young, went away, and then came back. Now I'm learning this all now, new. Muscles are taking a little longer to catch up, but we're getting there.
I had a horse when I was younger for a little while, And then I was away from horses, and then I got back into them when I met my husband. Never packed a horse before. This was the first time. Just horse camping. That's where you go with your trailer and you ride for the day and you come back to your trailer. Nothing out in the backcountry staying the night with horses or anything like that, no.
I grew up in Southern California. When I was about 12 years old, my parents decided they wanted to live in the country. So we got horses at that time. Just learned how to ride by getting on and going, riding bareback. Worked at a ranch for a little while, on a dude ranch, running a big dude string. But about 10 years ago, I had the opportunity with Sacramento County 4-H horse program to take kids into the wilderness, and we got to camp one night in the wilderness, and you just packed things onto your own horse. Knew at that point that that's something I really enjoyed doing, but never actually had the opportunity to do beyond that. So this is kind of what got us started on it, and I just like getting out in the wilderness and seeing beautiful places that most people don't get to unless you do it on foot or horse. So this is Paradise Lake, where we camped last night. The gorgeous view all the way around. Our campsite was right over there. We saw that movie where the three guys
got the Mustangs and went across country. That pretty much cemented our fate into the wilderness.
We were going to do it. We decided if they could do it, we could do it.
Yeah.
The trip just sort of evolved, and all of a sudden we had a plan.
Well, I was on YouTube constantly, but most of the things you see on YouTube are all backpackers, so through hikers. But I kept watching over and over again through hikers of the sections that we were going to ride, so that I could try to get some idea of what the terrain was like. But it actually wasn't what it was showed in the movie. In their videos, they don't show what it looks like.
They don't show it from a horse rider's perspective at all. Yeah.
The only one that I actually saw that gave me some idea of what we were looking at for the first part, with the first day, was people hiking from Tuolumne Meadows on the Glen Allen Trail. Because I wanted to see what that cobblestone looked like, because I'd heard about it, and it looked like nothing that we were going to have a complication with, because we've ridden like that before. We just didn't know that the entire 75 miles was going to be like that.
In my mind, I had this envision of the trail. It's like, first it was like, oh my gosh, we're going to run way too much water. We can't cross the rivers. But the trail itself was just like a meandering path. I mean, it was a path. I mean, and then you'd go over some rocks and granite, which we do. But it was very, very technical. And then that was the first part. And then it was the snow was going to be an issue. And then there was something else. Oh, and then bears.
I think I expected it to be similar to the riding that we've done around here, up around Wrights Lake, where you go across some granite boulders and maybe have one big step down where I'm not paying attention and I fall off. But for the most part, I did not expect cobblestone, boulder, cobblestone, boulder, big giant step, giant step, boulder, boulder, boulder.
Just getting the reservations for Tuolumne Meadows was a huge chore. You have to call at 7 a.m. and get on the queue, and there's other people that are calling in too and kind of scooping up all the spots. And luckily we were all on the hold. She got through to a live person, Cathy did, and she said, I need these dates. And she's like, oh.
There was one campsite available. I took them.
And we just got really lucky. It was the dates we needed. And so that got us in.
Okay, here we are, day 2. Right about the same time of day that it started thundering and raining and lightning. Well, I didn't see lightning, but a lot of thunder. Hey, Wyatt. How are you? Hi, sweetheart. What are you doing, Why? And there's my big Strati boy. Stradivarius, you are so handsome.
So day 1 we pack. And it's getting later and later in the day.
What time did we head out finally?
Like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Our normal time.
Our normal time.
But we only had a 6-mile ride.
Yeah, so we finally got on the trail, and we were going to ride through the campground, and of course they're like, oh, you can't ride through the campground, so we had to meander back by the visitor center, and then we crossed the meadow. So we got through, and then we get on the Glen Allen Trail, and we're going, and there's this really easy little bit of granite Her
Very
horse
easy. Some
stepped
kind of granite that we do all
All
the
the
time.
time. For
I mean,
day
it wasn't
rides.
even like not like steep. It was flat.
It was
almost.
flat, pretty flat.
He steps down. His legs kind of do a little splay. She
Back
goes off
end.
the back end of him. Luckily, she had her clothes on her backpack, which probably saved your head.
Yes.
And
And
she's
from
all
breaking my
laying
back.
on the ground crying, "This can't be the end. This can't be the end." And then she's like, "My arm, my arm, my
I can't
arm,
move my arm.
I can't move my arm." And we're like, we were scrambling around, getting off our horses, getting them all tied up so we can run up and help her. And then she pulls her arm, and she had dislocated her shoulder, and she pops it back into place. And then she goes, "Okay, I'm all better." I'm like, "You were just in pain. What are you talking
It was
about?"
excruciating. I mean, seriously, could not move my arm, and it was probably one of the worst things I've ever felt, like besides childbirth. But it hurt really bad. I was almost passing out. It was hurting, and all I could think though in my head is, my arm just feels like it's not in the right location, and I just needed to move it. So I just grabbed it with my other arm and pulled it and
And then
popped
she was
it back
fine.
in place,
I go,
and then
"You
it
were
didn't hurt
just-
anymore.
I go, "You were just like dying."
I know.
"Oh no, I'm good now.
It's all good now."
We're gonna keep going." I said, "Are you sure?" "Yep, we're going. Let's go." And so we kept going. That was day one. That was the first probably hour.
Yeah.
No. And I was so pissed off. Honestly, inside all I could think of was, "You've got to be kidding me. After 2 years of planning,
It's gonna
I
end.
slipped,
in-
and this is
after
the
an
end of our
hour,
adventure
yeah.
after the first hour? This is nuts."
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let that happen.
So we came from way back there. There's Cathy and Wyatt. And we're at 10,032 feet. Go. Right there, through those rocks. Snow. Horses really want to stop. Come on. We keep losing the trail. So, no, we're not going that way. Sorry, we're going this way. Look, because I knew this was like this. I didn't want to go. So our horses are really tired today. We had lost a boot, couldn't find it. Had to do some hiking. Watch out, Wyatt. Be careful, Cathy. So Wyatt's navigating that little area back there. He's pretty good.
First night at camp, we tried to abide by the leave no trace, but unfortunately it was getting dark, so we were a little close to
The creek.
the creeks
So
because we had
it'd be
two, one
100
on each
feet.
side.
Yeah, we were between two creeks.
So, but everything else we did with leave no trace. We made sure the camp was clean and all that. And
We found other people's trash. That was really
yeah,
sad.
we did find other people's trash, but the horse, and it looked like horses had been there before. So we got the highline thing set up and hobbled and unsaddled. We decided that we have a little barn area and a little kitchen area and a little bedroom area. And we hobbled the horses. So Chip and Star decided while they were hobbled that they would go across the little creek, and they're like, "Oh, the trail, yes, home is to the right." So they or to the left. They started taking off, going towards home with their little hobbles, hopping along the trail. And I go, "You guys, I don't see the horses anymore." So then we chased him down, brought him back, tied him up,
Put them in timeout.
put him in a timeout. And then the next morning they did the same thing. They went across the other creek and were in the island in the middle of the creek eating grass. Yeah, well.
It was a recurring theme for the horses to go back.
Our second day, headed to Miller Lake. Well, we have 11.5-mile ride today, and I've had quite a few mishaps already. Let's see. Wyatt's boot came off one foot, Stardy's boot came off one foot, when my reins broke.
Day two.
Day two, we had so many delays on the trail because
We only
I
made it.
rode with boots. Well, actually, Julie rode with boots too, a different type, Renegades.
Well,
It's
you
like
use-
having tennis shoes on your horse.
Yeah, tennis shoes.
To protect their hooves instead of using metal shoes. And I've always had my horses barefoot, and then when I ride in rough terrain or in hard ground, I use a kind of boot that's called Easy. They're by Easy Care, called gloves, and I've never had any complications with them. So that's what I decided to use on the trail, since that's my go-to. That's the way I ride. And our second day on trail was a disaster. My horses were losing their boots right and left.
And we just went down a hellacious rock face I can't even believe there was a trail. There's what we were riding under, and we went down that face, that granite. It was incredible, but it was kind of scary. We climbed to 9,500 feet in elevation in just a few miles that day.
That was the rough day. And once
we
we
maneuvered
jumped the
around
tree,
5 down trees,
yeah,
and we had to jump over that.
it was
that
a pretty
one.
good sized tree, so they kind of scrambled it. I thought that was dangerous. She was like, "Jump it!"
I didn't think it was a big deal.
Well, she's
Until I
on a-
turned
she's
around
on
and
a
looked.
big, tall
She's on a
horse.
big
16
horse.
plus
horse.
hands. I'm on a 14-handed horse who has a.
Yeah,
He's a
his
mountain.
legs are smaller than the log.
Right.
So yeah,
So he did scramble to get over that, but he's basically part mountain goat. So
Yeah.
that was his saving grace.
yeah.
The only
But that
problem
one was
with it
scary.
is that the way we had to go up and over it on such steep terrain, we at that point, even though it was only the second day in, there was no way we could turn around and go back now.
Yeah.
Because
We couldn't get around it.
get around the tree going back the other way down the trail. If we had tried to jump over it going the other direction, they would have gone off the cliff.
Yeah.
So
Plus,
that
it
was
was
it.
almost as chest high on Star.
Right.
Going the other direction.
Other
So we knew at that point that was it. We were committed.
We were committed.
Yeah. The third day on trail, we came to a tree that was too large to cut.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling safe about going around it either way, but Michelle,
I said we
this
could do
brave
it.
woman, she led all the horses around it on the high side, but I was just pretty much had an upset stomach watching her do it the whole time.
Hard to see, but Michelle's going to attempt to climb this ridge, circle down, and bring the horses to this side, because this log is too big for us to get over.
We're like in this really steep terrain right here, and we came across a log on the trail. We cannot get around because the footing here is really, really bad. You can see how steep that is down there. We couldn't go around it, so we're trying to saw it. Michelle's the mountain woman. She's almost got it sawed through.
Our big worry is that when she cuts through, this whole log will come flying down on top of us.
The snowdrifts are where I got a little
Yeah, they
worried.
were.
The snow scared
And plus,
me too for
since
that
we
reason.
left camp at noon, we hit the snow
When
at
it's
4 or 5 o'clock when
mushy.
it's all mushy. Which they say as hikers, you want to hit the snow early, and we're like,
It's hard.
I mean, to me, that river crossing with the steps going
I
up,
know.
that
yeah.
was like,
So you had to go down a steep trail to the crossing. The crossing was maybe only 6 feet across.
If that.
And yeah, and it was rushing water with boulders, but it wasn't a technical crossing. But then immediately after getting across that, it was a granite
up,
stairs
straight up.
that
Granite
were
stairs.
built. And the stairs were maybe,
For people, they're
For
little.
people.
yeah, they're
About
maybe
this wide, you know.
6 inches wide of stairs, maybe 20 up.
Yeah.
And so we were like, no way gonna ride up that on the horses.
plus
so,
it was wet, water was streaming down
Yeah,
the stairs,
moss
there
all
was
over
moss all over it.
So Julie went up on foot to the top of the stairs, and then Michelle and I led each horse down individually
Yeah.
to the crossing, took their reins and lead ropes off, and sent them across without us.
And Chip,
and she
Chip
would
was
catch
the
'em.
rock. Chip was the rock. He
He
was
went through so slow, and I was like, I don't know how he did it so slow.
right.
But he
he
did.
through and
Yeah,
He went
he's
up the
like
steps.
once Star saw that Chip could do it, he said, "Oh, I can do that." And he jumps up.
So we were
and
pretty
then
amazed
it was
at how
amazing.
awesome our horses
Yeah,
were. They
The
did everything
horses
we
were
asked.
great.
Everything.
Everything we asked of them.
Yeah, but I was
Sort
starting
of.
to get worried about my horse's
Yeah, our
condition.
horses.
Yeah.
It was mostly
Their legs were really beat up, and Wyatt's back was so sore, our pack horse,
yeah.
that I just thought, you know what, we need to get him to Kennedy Meadows, but we need to stop at that point
Yeah.
because I didn't want to ruin him.
and that was probably the fifth
Yeah.
day.
Well, but we didn't have a choice. This section, there's no place to resupply.
Yeah, that was the
You have
problem.
no
So
choice
long.
whatsoever. There's no place in that 75 miles that you
Where
can
someone
hook
can
up
come
with
bring you
anybody.
something, unless they bring it on a pack horse.
Yeah. So I think
So-
that was our biggest.
That was the biggest obstacle, was the distance and not having a resupply of place in between. Then your pack horse is heavier, everything's heavier. You pack more food. And I think we planned for 5 pounds, 4 pounds of stable mix and 1 pound rice bran for the horses, and that seemed to work. And on days we felt like they needed a little bit more, we'd up it and then let them graze a little longer in the morning. We're going to do this next year, and
Ride from Sonora Pass
from
to Echo
Sonora
Summit.
Pass to Echo Summit, yeah.
Yeah.
Do that
Summer.
section, see how we do, and then do the next section the next year.
Following year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be Echo Summit,
to
to
Boreal
Boreal
Ridge.
Ridge, yeah.
I just really think for me, the big thing that I came back with was us, how well we worked together, but also how willing our horses were to do anything we asked of them, how
Yeah.
much they trusted us. Because we asked them to do really difficult things
Yeah.
that I never imagined we would be asking
Yeah,
them to
right.
do. Even just doing it and attempting it is definitely worthwhile, and it's not a disappointment or a failure if you don't complete what you set out to do initially. Just be prepared to face anything.
And just know that there's some really tough parts, and that you and your horse need to be in condition.
Yeah.
And for every tough part, though, there's something that's fantastic, beautiful,
Yeah.
take your breath away wonder. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.